This is the DinoPod.
Fucking Elon Musk.
Yes, for the past 15 hours.
Hello, welcome to DinoPod. I'm back.
Rachel's back.
Which is good.
He did not have the coronavirus.
I mean, I do.
After all.
I do.
Oh, wait, you do? Oh, shit.
To give you a backstory of why we say about fucking Elon Musk is we've been talking about stuff.
Driving.
And we forgot to put the record button on.
How I'm afraid to drive.
Yeah, and how I drive a car that's a death trap.
Exactly.
And we were suggesting that if in the future Tesla kills someone when it's on autopilot,
it's Elon Musk's fault.
It's Elon Musk. He promised us, Lord and Savior Elon. He said it'd be fine.
What I assume is that Elon Musk is like at home with a VR set driving the car for me. That's what I imagine happens if you put Tesla on autopilot.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I mean, who else could it be?
Exactly.
Or do they just pay Rita to do it and then she freaks out and then just kills her?
I freak out the first 5 minutes and give up immediately. That's basically what happened. Anyway.
I mean, hold on.
I do have a driver's license.
Why don't...
Wait, a driving license.
You've literally got a car that you can use that isn't being used.
Do I? Oh, my Mini? I mean, I would have to ship it from Portugal. It would have the wheel on the other side, on the wrong side, in this country, in the right side, everywhere else.
Yeah,
that's confusing because... It's on the left side here in UK.
Yeah, because
anyway,
the steering wheel's on the right side. On the
should be on
right
the left
side.
It should be on the left.
So yeah, but then you can come. You've got a car. You can drive it here and then freak yourself out. It'd be fine.
Exactly, and have really strong arms because it takes 5 years to turn the wheel because it doesn't have
power steering, anti-lock brakes, airbags, safety.
Yes.
It has a seatbelt, which is usually pretty shit.
It does, yes.
And your face just gets planted into some metal.
It's fine. I mean, I think it was on Reddit, a woman put rocks on the wheel.
I've seen it. It's like you can have a car accident.
Now I'm really safe because of the I don't know, energies of the rocks. So I'm like, woman, you know, do you not know anything? Airbag.
You've literally made your car steering wheel into a grenade.
That's right. If she hits anything and the airbag goes off, she's dead.
A grenade is a ball that's full of shrapnel. You've just put shrapnel on the outside with an exploding ball inside, so it's literally going to explode into your face. You're gonna go to the hospital, and they're gonna see imprints of rocks onto your.
And it's a very sensitive airbag because it's a top, and it goes off.
Do you know what I'd love it if you have some yobbos come and jumping on someone's car, and then the moment later the airbag goes off and it just rocks flying everywhere inside.
Yeah, or in the movies in New York where people just cross the road and the car stops and they punch the car. It's I'm walking here.
I'm walking
here, and the airbag goes off.
Yeah, and then it just kills a woman. But talking about killing a woman, Madeleine McCann.
Oh my no.
Now that was a segue.
That was a terrible segue.
Okay, that's fine. So this week we're gonna try and. Why is it saying I've got AirPlay on? Looking for TV.
I mean, I do have a TV.
Yeah. Do you have a license for it? Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I mean, I don't use it to watch TV. I use it to play.
You have to have a license to hold a TV.
Nah.
This
is just a really big computer monitor.
Yeah. No, it is. Hashtag scrap the license fee.
So this week we're doing the Madeleine McCann 10 years on.
Talking about license fee, let's watch a BBC documentary.
Exactly. A very sad documentary, which we totally watched legally.
Yeah, we perfectly watch it legally. You don't have a license, so you watched it at my house, who have a TV license, isn't that right?
That's right.
Cool. And I had a legit copy.
Of course, even though it's not available anymore.
No, it's fine. If I do home recordings, that's totally illegal.
Right.
So 3 years ago, I did a home recording of a pod.
Because you knew that 3 years from now you'd be recording a podcast about it.
I mean, I glued some rocks to my steering wheel, and it told me the future.
Yeah.
That was, you're going to be doing a documentary, a podcast on this documentary, and you're going to die in 6 years when the airbag goes off. So it's fine.
It's fine, completely fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Do you know what else is fine? Coronavirus. That's fine.
Okay. That was a weird
segue. I don't know where I was. Do you know when you say something and don't think about what you say next?
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the quality is returned. It's better.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
What the fuck did you record? Did you use like?
It was.
Did you get 2 tins and a bit of string together?
More or less. It was Tim's mic because I cannot get my mic to record to a laptop without buying something extra. But Tim's one worked. Why are you holding my Cineworld card? Anyway, it was Tim's microphone. What? It's a picture of me at the Cineworld card. It's a Minions shirt. I apologize. I don't know why.
I'm judging you.
Yeah, you should.
You
really should.
Your hatred for Minions, yet you've got a Minions.
Don't open it. It's full of small Lego pieces. It's my Star Wars tin.
How do I open it?
Jesus Christ. Wait. Boom. Lego.
So when you get a car, you can have little Lego pieces stuck to your steering wheel.
Yeah.
Which is fine because you ain't got an airbag in the car anyway.
Because I do not have a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
What you do is stolen. And do you know what else is stolen? Maddie McCann. She was stolen. Segue, right. Yeah, anyway. So this week we're talking about the Madeleine McCann documentary done by BBC Panorama in 2017.
Yes, called Madeleine McCann 10 Years On.
Yep.
So they filmed it in the anniversary of her, 10-year anniversary of her disappearance.
Murder.
Her disappearance. We don't know if she has died.
I mean...
Technically,
I don't know. We'll just have to ask the parents. They'll be able to tell us.
No, let's not. Anyway,
you do know how this podcast is gonna go. It's just throwing shade at the McCanns because they're fucking negligent shits, essentially.
Kind of. Anyway, so everyone probably knows this case already. It's a very famous case.
Just do a really quick rundown of what the case is.
So Madeleine McCann and her parents. Her 2 brothers, twins, cute, and a bunch of family friends.
Ugh, kids. Ugh.
Went to spend a holiday in Praia da Luz. Or, what are you doing?
Continue.
That's not connected to anything. It was already on.
Yeah, but it said on, so I had to turn it off.
Okay. Or as the guy from this documentary says it, Praia da Luz. You don't need to put so much emphasis in Luz.
We're British.
Chill.
We're British. We
anyway.
do what we want. Praia da Luz, mate.
Praia da Luz. They are a bunch of friends and family. They want to spend a holiday in Praia da Luz. Yep. In Algarve, in Portugal.
I've been to Algarve.
So have I.
In 2007.
Did you also disappear in 2007?
Well, I mean, I am Madeleine McCann.
I
I identify as a woman now.
Okay.
I identify as a little 3-year-old girl now. It's fine. Now that went weird.
So they stayed at the holiday apartment at a resort.
Yep.
5A, the apartment 5A.
Okay.
Became very, very famous. Not really. And
I mean, by the sound of it, by the looks of the documentary, it's kind of turned into like a fucking tourist attraction at this point.
Probably.
In about 100 years, we'll be like, here we see where the building used to be and where they found underneath the concrete.
Oh my god. Mitchell stuff. Anyway, on the 3rd of May 2007,
yep.
Madeleine McCann was left sleeping with her twin brothers at the apartment while the parents and the adults
neglected
went to have dinner at the tapas restaurant 55 meters away where they have dinner every night.
Where they neglected.
Until at 10, when her mother went to check on her, she realized that Madeleine was gone. This was around 10 p.m.
Shock horror. You leave your kids unattended with the door open. Wow.
They disappear. I know, right? Crazy.
Imagine that. If you're a parent, this is 101 of how not to do parenting.
I mean, more or less. So they called the police, and the rest is history, because it became a very, very well-known case where the Portuguese police blamed the parents. The parents blamed the police for not doing enough, and then they made a bunch of money off it because she wrote 10 books. McCann wrote 15 books about it.
I was surprised that she didn't take out life insurance on the kid before.
Anyway, this documentary, it's more about the two theories of the police.
It's
the Portuguese one and the British one.
It's the broadest stroke documentary I've ever seen.
It's a very broad stroke, because barely tells you what happened. They interviewed a spokesman for the McCanns, and he's very, very defensive about anything that the reporter says.
It's his job.
And they barely. It's an hour. It's not even an hour. It really is very broad strokes. They don't really talk about anything specific.
There was a
they don't even go into what happened. Just disappeared. That's the end.
I've got a couple of the theories that are kind of the bigger theories that I'll go through later on. But considering this documentary is an hour,
yeah.
Do you know those conspiracy guys podcast?
Yeah.
Their podcast was 4 or 5 times longer than this. And they didn't cover everything either.
They really could have gone deeper into it.
That's why was it a Netflix documentary that was multiple episodes?
It was 8 episodes.
Yeah.
And that documentary is not great, but it does give way more information than this. They
Was it your first Panorama?
Yeah.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah.
I've watched. So for me, I've watched lots and lots and lots of BBC Panorama over the years. From fucking Video Game Addiction, which was the most biased piece of shit ever. It's here we see a guy who plays a bit too much Warcraft. Isn't it a bad thing? Even though he's got anxiety and social issues, but his games are bad, guys. And then there was lots of, they cover things like Madeleine McCann, the really big cases, and then they talk about a very specific niche thing. I'm just there's no middle. They're not this. There's in Australia they do one called 60 Minutes.
Yeah, I've seen some.
They tend to do more niche.
Yeah.
Things, whereas Panorama will do anything.
And they can go into do more than one on one topic.
Yeah.
For example, Scientology. I've seen their 60 Minutes one on the wife of the head of Scientology. And you can say a lot about Scientology, but they go in specifically into her disappearance, because they don't know where she is. She just disappeared off the face of the earth.
And that's the thing. The 60 Minutes is they're surprising. The quality itself isn't that great. As in the production quality, but in terms of the content, it's quite
great.
Good.
It's really good.
And the fact that the Australian accent is probably my favourite accent in the world. I love it. It's...
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know about you, but I find that there's too much British and American documentaries.
Yeah.
You see, the British or the Americans will do documentaries. You don't tend to hear Australians or Portuguese documentaries and stuff, or I don't know if what it is, but it just tends to be either British or Americans who get into this shit. I just think we're just conspiracy mad.
Maybe.
The Americans are mad.
The Portuguese made a documentary about Madeleine McCann with the
and then they got fucking sued.
I do not remember at all. I don't remember that documentary at all.
The guy lost his job and got sued.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he wasn't that great at his job. To be fair,
I
but
mean,
yeah.
Considering that you don't even know who he is, that kind of tells me that, like, yeah, he's not.
I know who he is. I don't remember that particular documentary. I mean, the fact that he wrote he wrote a book and made a documentary about a case where he was still working on.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Come on, dude. You're better than this. Probably not.
So, yeah, I've seen a lot of the Panorama documentaries, and they... I don't know if it's because of the BBC having to be kind of... supposedly for everyone. They're not. Supposedly for everyone. But they tend to... the Panorama side, they tend to kind of not focus too much into details.
Yeah.
The point of watching a documentary is to learn.
Yeah. I mean, just brush over.
This is kind of like...
a lot.
This is kind of like an artist getting a big brush to do, like... if you're trying to do a really beautiful painting with loads of intricate details, you're giving them an inch brush and just asking them to do it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I find that this documentary does that, where they don't... I wouldn't mind if they spent 1 hour covering the British side and 1 hour covering the Portuguese side, and then doing like another one, like a follow-up 5 years later or something. But I find it was quite nice having the reporter for Panorama, the same person who was covering the case like 10 years prior.
Yeah. Because
at least he can give his own like personal thoughts and feelings of what he felt.
Yeah.
Because as we went through, he started covering bits and pieces like him getting bribed, like the family. Was it the family or like family friend or someone like that?
Friend, like family friends or something.
Essentially just to get shade.
The McCanns denied.
Yeah, because they just wanted to get shade on one of the was it in the investigators or something?
No, was it Rupert Murray?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was covering the case, and they wanted essentially to kind of do him over.
Yeah.
And so
like a spy. Jesus Christ.
And then the reporter for the Panorama and the one that was back in the day, he obviously said, "Nah, mate. Like, no, cheers for that, mate, but no, thank you." Because at the time they wanted any type of report going, anything with the word Madeleine McCann sold newspapers.
Yeah.
Even to so far as the fact where she was like front page news for days.
Yeah.
Which either says that us British are really fucking vain and just like to know about a potentially dead girl.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, we are weird, but
very weird. I mean, you drive on the wrong side of the road.
The right side of the road.
The wrong side of the road.
I mean, it's the UK, we drive correctly. Australians drive correctly, so it's fine.
No.
Well, to be fair, Australia doesn't exist, so it doesn't really
exactly
matter. So they could drive on any... They drive in the middle.
Yeah, basically.
Actually, no, they drive upside down, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Because...
that makes sense.
It makes sense. And do you know what else makes sense? The parents.
No. So, by the way, I like when he arrives in Praia da Luz, like he interviews like a couple of like British people, because it's very popular with British for a holiday destination. Like, and they immediately tell him like to fuck off.
Fuck off.
And
mate.
the guy like in the car is like, "This is what you're doing with your taxpayers' money? Seriously?"
Even though he looks like the type of person. He looks like an expat who's just kind of retired and he's just moved abroad.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "Nah, Spain is too British now. I've got to go to that Portugal place. But they have to fucking know English and got to sell full Englishes. It'd be fine."
Portugal is amazing.
But
yeah, immediately what the fuck are you doing here? Nobody cares.
And
Go away now.
And then a lot of the people were just shouting from their balconies like, "Just jog on, mate.
Yeah.
We've had enough of it round here."
Yeah.
I
mean, amazing.
But yeah, it's really funny because they didn't
And
all
like
the
on
people.
stop signs, like stop the Maddie circus, because it was like a media circus. It was.
The issue with this case is the fact that it wasn't the media's fault. It was the McCanns deliberately put all the focus.
Right.
And
so they do talk about that, how the police, the Portuguese police, asked them not to go to the media immediately, and they don't go into why. But the Netflix one, they do say it's because they felt that if we announced to the media that this girl is missing, if somebody did take her, they would probably, if she wasn't dead already, they would probably kill her. Then, so...
I mean, that's completely...
They would, like, it'll hurt if she was still alive. It probably hurt if somebody, like, saw that they're looking for this girl. They'd, like, cause them to panic and hurt the girl.
Yeah, and that's why... If someone... Even if it's someone you knew went missing...
Yeah.
The first thing you do is go to the police, see what they can do first, and then you start, when the police recommends, to start putting it up on Facebook and so on to try and find them, because it just takes them to panic, the person who took her.
Yeah. In the Netflix one, they especially mention the thing on the eye. She had like a very distinctive, what's it called? It's like deformation? No, I don't know. She had like this defect on her eye.
Mm.
And like that could like, I don't know, hurt the eye just so they could like...
The thing is with this documentary, there's so many more avenues that could have went down. So for example, a little unknown thing happened was someone was a traveller in the UK was investigated because they had like a little girl that they had the same sort of defect, and they kind of took a guesstimate of what she looks now, and essentially their whole community was blonde or something. No, the whole community had like dark hair, and then Maddie was a little bit different, and they kind of raided the camp and realised no, it was just a normal girl. But there's so much more that they could have covered that let's just go into it. So where do you want to cover our theories, or should we do it towards the end?
I think we should do the theories towards the end, I think. Because they talk about two theories. And the first one, which is the...
So let's just go through a documentary. So how did it start?
So it's 10 years since Maddie disappeared. Very sad.
Yeah, as of the documentary. Yes,
this documentary was in 2017, so it's been 12 years now.
Yeah, so I are they going to do a 15 years documentary? They're going to do... Maybe. They'd either do 15 or 25. Probably. Or people will just... Forget. Which I hope, because this circus has gone on way too fucking long. You ain't going to find her. Stop wasting your money. Jesus, okay. Okay, Mitchell. So, they start with a very, small, very vague recount of what happened. She disappeared during the night while the parents were... neglecting her. Having dinner. It was 9 adults and 8 children. It wasn't just her parents that left the kids. It was every single one of that group just left their kids at the apartment. So it wasn't one neglectful arsehole. Yeah. It was potentially 8 neglectful arseholes that left their kids. And they would take turns. During dinner, they would take turns checking the children. Did you know how they checked? Do you know how often they checked? It was like every half an hour. They said. No. What they did, they weren't all in the same apartment together, all the kids. No, they were like, which again, like... Doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do that, why not just put them all in the same apartment so everyone can go check them out? So what happened was, the family of the parents of one of the families.
Yeah.
They went and checked theirs, but didn't check on the Maddie's family.
Which seems like a very awkward.
And then the Maddie family checked them.
And then one would check their kids, and then the other one would go and check only their kids.
And they would do at this point they were checking their own family every half an hour, but that means every 15 minutes.
Like somebody was getting up to in left.
Instead of going, you know what, Kate, whilst you're there, can you just have a little nose in?
And they did that once. A guy was like a friend or whatever, went in to check the kids, and he didn't really check them, just opened the door a little bit, didn't hear anything, and left.
Yep. And also, why...
What?
And I know they glossed over it in the documentary, but they left the door unlocked.
Yeah, they left the sliding door unlocked, so it'd be easier to check on the kids.
Bearing in mind...
That's insane!
You in this place, when you're here...
I lock my door.
When it takes a key card, a lock, and another lock to get in, you still lock your fucking door.
I still lock my door. And I can see my door from my bed if I
And whereas a family with young kids...
And by the way...
In a country they don't know...
Yeah.
Leaves it unlocked. And
they said they chose that restaurant because it was close to a resort. It's still 50 meters away. It's not like it's downstairs, like... Or... I don't... Like, why would you... 50 meters away, I mean... How much is like 160? How much is it? Like from here to Galaxy?
Give or take.
That's far away. To leave your kids in the ground floor apartment with the door unlocked.
So...
Sleeping.
What?
It's not like you're in your own backyard and you can hear them if they start crying or whatever. Because again, Madeleine McCann here was 3 years old. And the twins were younger.
Bearing in mind, when I've been abroad, when I was going abroad with my mum when I was that young, even if I was sleepy, she would take me out and then leave me on like a chair or a sofa, like in the same room, and she would watch over me, and my brothers were there and they would be watching me, and they wouldn't leave me out of my sight.
So
because
like, same with my mom. I talked with her like yesterday about it. I've been to Algarve. I had family there. They since moved away from Algarve. But we would go...
Are we getting... Okay, here we go. Right. Insider knowledge.
We would go...
Where were they in 2007?
In Corteira.
Is that...
It's in Algarve.
Okay, it's in Algarve. Okay. Were they missing one night?
They were not, no.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
So in summer, it would like sometimes spend...
I'm trying to implicate your family to
spend 2 weeks down there with like my aunt and my cousin, who's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
By the way. So, never once. This is in Algarve. In a place that I'm familiar with.
Mm.
Where I speak the language. Never once my parents left me alone. Or me and my cousin left me alone so they could go out and have dinner. Not once.
It's almost like your parents are really smart.
Like, it's insane. Like, she even told me sometimes we wouldn't go out because we didn't want to bring, like, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old to a restaurant because they could cry or whatever. They're just, like, at the apartment. Like, it's insane. And same, like, I would also go to holiday in a different part of Algarve with my grandparents. I don't remember them ever leaving me alone. They would send me to buy beer when I was 8. That was weird. That was once.
But that's nearly 3 times the age.
No, I was 8.
You knew as an 8-year-old.
But again, never left me alone.
Yeah, you when you're 8, you're starting to get a sense of the world. But when you're 3,
and you don't know anything. Like the one time they would like leave me alone, like I would be with my brother, who would be 13 years older than me, so he could babysit. So he'd be like, if I was 3, he would be 16.
And when you're at 16, that's when you can start employing them as a fucking babysitter, for example.
Like I don't remember remember staying home alone. I was like, at my hometown, at home, like 9, 10, and my mom would go out in the mornings.
Like my mum wouldn't even let me.
Like for an hour or two, and then come back. Like, and I like being alone because then I could like scream and sing my lungs out really loudly. It was weird. I'm weird. Go on. Yeah. Shut up.
Is that when I leave here? Are you just gonna
sing very loudly? Probably. Yeah. It could happen.
Does your neighbours like you?
They hate me.
I thought so.
No.
Especially when they get a mail saying, "What do you mean? I've registered someone called Rita as a TV licensor. What is going on?"
Shut up. No, here I don't sing very, very loudly. But you've been to my home in Portugal. Yeah. It's not an apartment. I can have real loud music. Yeah. Without bothering people. And
there was a bag in the closet, and it looked very Maddie shaped as well.
Yes.
Is that? I thought that looked familiar. I couldn't place it. So by the way, I pulled the string off.
I mean, it's your stole anyway. So.
Yeah, I need to fix it. I think Tim broke it.
God damn it, Tim.
How the fuck does it even work?
I don't know. You're the one that got it. Anyway. So, I mean, it's insane. Also, another thing they didn't mention in the documentary, and they do in the Netflix
I can't fold up the chair anymore.
God damn it.
I mean...
Anyway, the resort had like a daycare and night care, so they could leave the kids at one place. They could have gone out, have dinner.
I know what the British response is gonna be, and it's
what?
I can't leave my kids to the fucking foreigners, mate. They'll nick my kid. I might as well leave them on their own with the door unlocked. That's safer, innit?
I mean,
that is actually the British response.
That's the thing. They could even if you closed early, which I don't know. I was probably at 10 in the night. Why not leave your kids there? Go have dinner and then go pick them up. So they're with a responsible adult watching over them while you're at dinner.
Let's just say that they're very neglectful, and let's try and figure out via the documentary what happened. So what happened next? So we just watched the very first opening, which we've been explained that they're back there 10 years later. Yeah. We've got just a very generic.
We have some British people telling them to fuck off. Yep. Leave the Praia de Luz. Praia de Luz.
Praia de Luz. Yeah, just kind of. We've been introduced to the characters, which is the British people abroad. We are fucking terrible.
Apparently, it's a thing that you guys do. Just leave your kids alone while they're toddlers in the foreign country and go have dinner.
Honestly, British people abroad are the most fucking toxic people ever. We are awful. Every single place, Portugal, Spain. Anywhere like that, anywhere like a British touristy area, it's so funny because every other person is called Barry. They're bald, they've got their stomach hanging out, they've got a beer, and they're complaining about foreigners. It's beautiful. It's the best thing in the world.
They do not know what sunscreen is.
And they're like...
very, very red.
They're just like, but why the fuck do I need fucking, that fucking squeezy stuff on me? I don't fucking know. I'm a man. 3 or 4 days later.
Just skin peeling.
It's like, Debbie, can you put some after sun on me? I'm fucking in pain. Yeah, and then they go out overnight, and then they complain that this is exactly what happens. They get red, so during the day they're in pain, and during the night, because of how your body reacts, they get really cold, and there's a guy called Barry with a beer shivering when it's 25 degrees. It's like, fucking hate it here. Can't wait to go home. And they get home and then they book another flight.
God damn it, British people.
We are actually the worst people abroad. We are terrible. Yeah.
I mean, why? Anyway. So around 10 p.m.
I'm only telling that story just because that's what happened with my family.
I believe it.
A good family friend of mine is called Barry, and we used to go abroad.
Okay.
And every fucking time, we got the shorts out, but they weren't shorts. They were like 3/4 lengths, and they had like bright camo on it.
Yeah.
And they had a hat on it. You wear a hat and a football shirt, and you would always complain about foreigners.
Are you talking about Tim?
Oh my god, Tim is a British person abroad, but he's in the UK because he's Welsh and like 10 degrees is like warm to him.
I mean, Jesus.
Oh my god. Oh my
so,
god.
So around 10 p.m., Kate goes to check on the children. And
Her
finds
children.
Her children only. Fuck the other children. And notices that Maddie has disappeared. They don't talk about this in this one, but again, instead of calling the police immediately, she goes back to the restaurant to like alert the other ones, I guess, leaving the twins back at the apartment with the unlocked door. And she panicked that her kid was missing and didn't think through, but like, I don't know, wouldn't you call the police right away? I guess she wanted to go get her husband.
I know they're small, but wouldn't you, as a parent, wouldn't you run in and wake your kids up and say, "Where's Maddie?"
Maybe, I mean, I don't know how old the twins were.
Yeah, surely they must have been old enough to like speak, because you wouldn't leave a baby on its foot. She would leave a baby. Yes, okay, it's fine. Continue.
I think they were younger than Madeleine, so they had to be like 2 years old, maybe.
Oh my!
Or less.
As we go through this, why the fuck has she not been prosecuted for even?
They were negligent.
Anyway, right. So we've seen the introduction to typical British people abroad. The official story, which is she ran back. She ran back to tell the rest that Maddie's
Jerry
gone. And then they called the police. They called the police. The police turn up, and this is where the investigation starts, essentially.
Yeah. And the parents think that somebody took Madeleine through the window.
Yep.
And the police, we call this new info. I don't think it's new info. That the Portuguese detectives didn't believe that she was taken through the window. Because they didn't think she was kidnapped at all.
At this point, we get the two sides of the story, which is the British and the Portuguese side. So we learn the Portuguese side of the story first and what they believe happened, which was...
So they didn't believe that Maddie was kidnapped because there was no evidence of a break-in. Well, they left the door open, so there wouldn't be any evidence anyway. They also didn't believe the friend's timeline, the Tapa 7 or whatever the fuck they were called, their timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were just like somebody would tell that they left at 9, and the other guy would tell, actually we left at 10 to go check the kids, and then like it was a mess. They were a mess.
This is the start of the
whole these statements
Portuguese...
were very inconsistent.
Yeah, this is kind of the start of the Portuguese versus. It's almost like Portugal versus UK. Like who can throw the? It's like the Portuguese side are saying, "You lot are negligent. You're fucking idiots."
Yeah.
Typical British, and then we're saying, "No, you're Portuguese lot. You want to
not doing anything right.
You're not doing anything right. It was one of you lot that took her."
Yeah. So like, as we mentioned earlier, they also clashed because the police PJ, or as you guys call it, PJ. They did not want them to go to the media right away because they were afraid if the kidnapper would get spooked. Makes sense. You did something wrong.
Makes sense.
Which they did not mention in this documentary. But the spokesman got very defensive, saying, "Well, if you're a kid, wouldn't you want to tell everyone that she disappeared? Wouldn't you think that putting everything in the media was better?" And then the guy asked him, "Well, wouldn't you follow the police's advice?" "No, I know better than the police." Like,
Well,
fair
okay,
enough.
we understand. Okay. If
I get it. Like,
if a child goes missing, what's the nowadays? Let's put it in nowadays perspective. Soon as someone goes missing, first thing you do is you call round to your friends and family. Say, you know, is Uncle Billy with you today? Is Uncle Billy with you today? Have you seen Uncle Billy? And then
yes.
and then if they said no, what the second thing you do is you call the friends, like, you know, is Uncle Billy with you? And if they say no, then you go, okay, this is getting a bit weird. And then you start thinking, when's the last time you saw her? Saw them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then what you do is you probably call the police just to put a missing person report. So I can't find Billy.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep an eye out for him and so on. And then you go to your Facebook and say, have you seen Billy today? And then just wait for someone to reply. That.
And again, like, I get this was a child, and
But this is 2007 we're talking about.
And again, it was a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Damn it.
No, this is 2007. Like, not like nowadays, you'd put something up on your Facebook, and you've got pretty much everyone in your fucking family and everyone that you probably know has got Facebook, so they'll be able to see it, which is fine. Back in 2007, MySpace was just coming a thing, so you wouldn't be posting. If you post it on there, you might get
some weird guy would see it.
So you might get a couple of people viewing it, and that'd be it. So what you would do is you'd contact the media and be like, can you just put this out to basically say, if you've seen her, can you bring her back?
Yeah.
And then you start putting notices around the place or on the walls and stuff like, have you seen her? So I understand why they would have gone straight to the media, and I don't blame them for it, because I think any parent would be like, I know best.
Yeah.
My kid's gone missing.
You're panicking.
It's
like the worst thing that could happen to a parent.
Yeah. But then there's the juxtaposition, which is, if this was all planned, how do you gain money from your child's disappearance? In air quotes.
You write a book.
You write a fucking you put it out in the media.
Sell it up.
Because if you committed a crime, right?
Yeah.
And you.
Which I have several times.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you forgot to say that you actually run that person over. That's why you can't drive anymore. You've been banned. No, so if you committed a crime, the first thing you need to do is look innocent.
Yeah.
So you end up hiding in plain sight, and this is what a lot of people are theorizing, is that they might have done it, and so they're hiding in plain sight. So they go straight to the media, because then you look like you're innocent and trying your best to look for her, which makes sense.
So,
but surely you would at least listen to the fucking police.
Yeah.
But they didn't cover this in the documentary.
So the Portuguese police theory, mainly by the head detective, named Gonçalo Amaral, you piece of shit, was that the McCanns did it.
Yep.
By accident, maybe, and then they covered it up.
Yeah.
And when they bought the dogs in, British dogs, to sniff out the place, and they found traces of blood in the apartment, and in the car, and the scent of cadaver. Did I say?
Yeah, it's the cadaver dogs.
Dogs. They run with it and like, yep, that's it. You guys are suspects at a witch. And you guys did it.
And plus, the dogs also start barking at the teddy as well, which
is a bit washed.
And so you have this piece of evidence, which is the teddy, which as any kid, you probably have it with you all the time. Yeah. So if anything happened, obviously the dog started barking like mad.
Yeah.
You then give that evidence to the parent who's going to look after it for a while, and it doesn't get tested. And when it gets tested, it's already been fucking cleaned of all the evidence. I
mean, it wasn't tested at the beginning because it's a fucking teddy bear. I don't think. I guess they didn't think they would find any evidence on it other than Madeleine's DNA, which, of course...
Use fucking logic. As a child, you tend to hold on to your toys when you're sleeping. So if anything murdery would have happened.
Also, I
don't
understand why Kate would watch it though. I'm like, they're like, oh, they'd
Have
be
you ever
dirty, but like.
Have you ever watched a teddy?
No.
I know it sounds disgusting. We've never watched it.
No.
The only time that you would is if it got really dirty or like when I say really dirty, I mean like literally covered in crap. Like not.
Yeah, I mean if it's just your daughter's like scent in it, like why would you wash it? And then, I thought like Kate would be like dragging it around the floor, so it shouldn't be that dirty.
The only time I've ever washed,
that was
not me personally, but any time that my family has ever washed a teddy was. We had a teddy in the living room and on the side, and my brother came home drunk one evening and threw up on the teddy.
Yeah.
And then that's the only time we've ever watched it. Like I've had a teddy since 2002.
Yeah.
I took it to Disney World with me, but that was quite cool. I liked it. I'm still and I got it when I was in hospital.
Yeah.
So I've never washed it, and it's still in the loft.
Yeah. I mean. It's weird.
Maybe she's... everyone's different. Maybe she was really like... that was kind of a routine for her. Like, she knew that teddies are disgusting. They're covered in germs.
True.
So that she might have just been so used to it.
Mitchell.
So she might have just been so used to washing it anyway. So
maybe. With
this type of thing, I think we can all brush it off and just say, you know what...
I don't know. I find it suspicious.
It's suspicious, but...
But anyway, so when the dog, even before they tested the DNA that the dogs found, the police, the Portuguese police, made them arguidos, which is basically means they're suspects and could go to trial. And then the DNA came back and it was nothing. So they had to like... By the way...
They didn't go into who tested the DNA and why and for what parameters.
I mean, I'm guessing it was like either Portuguese laboratory or maybe more. Again, the British guy, the spokesman for like the McCanns, is like, 2 doctors on a holiday, they killed their daughter by accident and then they cover her up. Ridiculous. Like,
that's the worst English.
It is,
that
isn't it? That is so
worst.
bad. I'm so sorry.
It's like two British doctors go on a holiday. Don't you know that the NHS is struggling? How are they getting this time off? How dare you, young sir? Doff my hat.
Has Her Majesty the Queen approved it?
How's it? More importantly, how have you got a holiday? Like, what have you been doing? 2007. What are we doing that? It's like you're the reason for the financial crash. You fucking took a holiday. What are you doing?
How dare you? Anyway, so
how dare you?
How dare you? Never.
Fucking Greta. What a witch. Continue.
It's like I don't think they feel like they were very offended by the fact that the police was looking into them, which I don't think is that weird because like when somebody gets murdered, normally you look.
The statistic is if someone gets
you're more likely to get
raped or murdered
by someone you know than a complete stranger. So the fact that they were looking into them, I don't think that's incredibly weird, but the guy was like completely outraged.
But to be fair, if I paid you to defend something...
Oh, of course. Of course.
If I gave you enough money to defend...
Well, the fact that they have a spokesperson in the first place to me is ridiculous.
If I said...
Like, seriously?
Okay, so what's something you hate?
Something that I hate?
Yes.
Brexit.
Okay, so if I said to you, from now on, Rita, I'm going to pay you loads of money and you're going to be an extreme Brexiteer.
Yes.
And I said, I'm going to give you a shit ton of money.
I would do it.
Exactly.
Completely.
Exactly. Even though Brexit is generally good. Anyway, continue.
So then we see some interviews that the McCanns did about the dogs. This Portuguese reporter, Sandra Felgueiras. She like asks them about the dogs, and again Jerry is like very defensive.
He's
like, again, I understand that your daughter is missing, but if you're doing an interview to raise awareness, at least you could like not look
suspicious.
Suspicious. Like, so it still depends. Like, she asked him, like, what did they think about the dogs finding DNA? Like, he could just answer, it's probably our DNA from around the apartment.
No, not even no.
I don't know. He still defends, like, ask the dogs. That's what he answers. Ask the dogs.
The problem is he
comes off as arrogant.
He shouldn't have responded in any like. He should have said, well, I hope that helps the investigation. Cause I'm really looking for I hope my daughter returns. Like anything that can help, that'd be brilliant. Instead, he just turned around and said,
"Ask the dogs."
It's like if the dogs speak, mate, fucking ask them.
Ask the dogs. They're not reliable at all. Just ask them.
But I understand that he's a doctor, so he's used to hearing bad news, which is fine because obviously he's probably dealt with a lot of shit in the past. Right? But when it's your own child, surely you should show at least a morsel of emotion.
She says it comes off as very arrogant, which when you're doing an interview to raise awareness for the child that disappeared, I think arrogance is not something that you want to come off as.
It should be heartbroken, sad, depressed.
And I'm not saying like they don't have to be crying on camera because people react to loss in very different ways and grief in very different ways. So I'm not expecting them to be like bawling on the TV. But
I'm sorry, I'm just watching a pigeon. Yeah. It's one of the pigeon was trying to get onto another pigeon, and then two of them are now chasing that one pigeon around the top.
Go other pigeon. It's a strong female pigeon. It's strong, independent female pigeon.
It's just so brave, such a strong and brave. That's
amazing.
So brave. Well done.
So. I lost where I was.
We got distracted by a freaky pigeon. That's now on its own.
So the results come back. They when they were made our arguidos, as you British say, they like kind of fled the country.
No, they didn't. It's been weeks. When they officially were made suspects, they left 2 days after that. That isn't the thing they didn't cover in the documentary. That isn't. They stayed at that place for 3 weeks, for over nearly a month.
They stayed in Portugal for a very long time.
And when they left, the reason why they left is because they genuinely had a flight boat. It wasn't anything suspicious. It was genuinely they just had a flight boat. Genuinely. Well, they
didn't say that in this documentary.
So. The documentary.
But didn't they came back? They came back later on, didn't they?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
Like that. That's what the Netflix ones did.
Because it relates to one of the theories I'm going to cover it later on. They were like 3 weeks later. They rented out a fucking car. Like they knew that they knew how long they were going to be because everything correlates to them leaving when they left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just saying this is facts.
The theory of Gonçalo Amaral was that the cadaver scent that they found the car was, which again the car was like rented a month and a half after she disappeared. But his theory was that
it was 3 weeks.
Was this 3
weeks? They begun renting it 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I think they had it for a little bit. So.
But his theory was that they kept her body
in the boot.
Yeah, and then they moved it somewhere.
Which doesn't make any sense
and
because...
then that's why they found the cadaver scent in the booth. Yeah. And, like, blood traces or whatever.
Which doesn't make any sense at all because
it really didn't make sense.
They deliberately... Well, they volunteered to have cameras follow them.
Yeah.
Like, I understand they had a shot of a motorcycle with a guy on the back recording. That they can't control, but the fact that they allowed
somebody in the car
filming at all times.
Yeah.
So in the chain of events, there's no physical way of them turning off
in the middle of the night.
And even so,
they probably would have.
There was people there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering it. They would have had to this is just all speculation at this point. They would have had to put her in the boot, wait for a moment when the cameras aren't watching, to drive out a car that everyone knew that they had rented because they're watching them at every moment.
Yeah.
Maybe swapped the number plates or something, but you would have seen them in it. So, and at that point, the other family had gone home, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think
this document never mentions the other families again.
Yeah, I think that they went home.
Yeah.
So they would have had to escape there, and then put her somewhere where they won't find it. They did cover a little bit later that she could have been put in the sewer, and taken away, which is fine. But if, for example, the only way that I could see it happening, like physically happening, is if they put her in the boot of the car, and they managed to find a sewer that they could put her in, which is fine. But there's such a high chance of them getting caught.
No, like
they're doctors. They're not stupid. They knew for a fact they couldn't fucking get away with it.
Yeah. And to be clear, there is absolutely no evidence that they did kill Maddie.
Yeah.
They had anything to do with it. There's no evidence whatsoever.
Literally, there's only 2 pieces of evidence that even relates to them doing anything, which was the boot of the car via cadaver dog, which were then tested.
It wasn't a match for Madeleine's
like
DNA.
Blood or DNA. And another one, they had the dogs barked inside the apartment.
Yeah. And
there were micro traces of some blood.
But again, it wasn't a match. And even if it was,
and there was no,
it could have been like one of the parents' blood.
Yeah.
Like, you hurt yourself, or like shaving,
we've all been in hotel rooms. Like, they ain't the cleanest places in the world.
Even if it was, you could cut yourself on holiday, or like
I cut myself when I'm shaving.
Exactly.
So
there was really evidence, and Gonçalo Amaral, he was removed from the case.
Yeah, but wasn't that after
later on?
Was that the guy that did the documentary as well?
He did a documentary and wrote a book.
But then that's because he was getting fucking sued by the McCanns.
And then the McCanns were sued him, and they won. And then he went to appeal, and the Supreme Court ruled it as freedom of speech, which is technically not wrong.
I mean, yeah, this is 2007, but freedom of speech doesn't exist anymore.
It was based on evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of Gonçalo, he's a crazy dude. So one of his theories, the way
he has a really cool hat though.
Sure.
I like.
His theory of why he was removed was because in the Lisbon Treaty, when they came to Portugal to sign it, the English it wasn't the Prime Minister. Was it the Defense Minister?
A Defense Secretary.
The Defense Secretary.
Which ironically is Theresa May. Because did she? No, everything comes. Her. Yeah, no. What she?
Did she get into the Lisbon Treaty?
I think she. No, was she? I don't know if she was.
Theresa May.
No. It was Gordon Brown that went to do. Because he was the Prime Minister at the time.
Our Prime Minister, which is Sócrates. Which my notes when he showed up was, oh look, it's Sócrates, because he's been to prison since then for corruption. It's a mess. Our country's a mess.
I mean...
But anyway, so like, Gonçalo Amaral theory was like, they put pressure on our Prime Minister, and he fired him, and then cut to the Prime Minister. What? No, that's crazy. What? No. What? No. What? No. And then the case was shelved in 2008. So the Portuguese was like, we're done.
Well, no, the Portuguese,
the
Portuguese police. I think they got to a stage where
there was no evidence.
There's no evidence to suggest when you have a case that's this broad. It's so difficult to kind of say, for example, that boot of the car had loads of blood in it.
Yeah.
Then you could have at least went right. Could it have been the guy who rented it previously did the murder? Maybe it was them. What's the chain of events? So on. But because there was no evidence about anything,
Nothing.
the only piece of evidence that didn't make, well, I say evidence, they suggested that the shutters on the window outside.
Yeah, that's later on with the
Couldn't
police,
be
the Scotland Yard theory,
and
which
so
makes no sense, and I'll explain why.
And so, the Portuguese police, I'm going to be honest, the Portuguese economy isn't great, so they probably probably didn't want to turn around and say, you know what, let's blow loads of money on a case that we have no idea if we're ever going to solve.
Which, by the way, if it was a Portuguese kid,
it would never
nobody would care.
No one would. It would
the media wouldn't care. There definitely wouldn't be like press conferences for the world and go France into the US into whatever to do press conferences.
Would it have? Okay, if we take this exact same case, these exact same people,
yes,
and put them in Centre Parks or Butlins in the UK, it would get no fucking coverage. It would just be neglectful parents, kids go missing. Here is a picture. You look for them.
Yeah, and even then, like,
why was it such a media circus?
Because the McCann's like connections to the media and money. They were rich.
I think, do you know what it comes down to? Portugal has this thing in the UK's mind of a place where it's nothing ever goes wrong there. It's absolutely fine.
We're a very peaceful country.
A very peaceful country.
Continue to visit Portugal.
It's absolutely fine. Lots of people go there and visit every year, and so it's like something bad went. Oh shit.
Yeah, but like that happens in every country. Even the most peaceful country, like your kid could disappear.
Yeah.
I mean, the US, like every kid was disappearing every other day in the 80s. It was like a missing child every Tuesday at 10.
It's just like, oh, another child's missing. Cool, here's your crime reference. We'll have a look. My question is, if this was like a black family or an Asian family, do you think they would get investigated? Because when I started looking into kind of the response that the police give for different people, when the Madeleine McCann thing was such a media circus, yet indigenous people in America never get found, even get investigated. There's been so many cases of like African Americans, and then you have going missing, and you have little like Asian children that go missing. I don't ever see a headline like that. I mean,
there's the huge case that was covered in the Mindhunters season 2. I think it's Atlanta, but don't quote me on that. Where 20-something black children disappeared in the 70s, 80s, I think. Mm-hmm. And the FBI did then like the new it's not department, but like the guys that like invented the word serial killer, and like we're studying Ed Kemper, and they talk with Charles Manson, Ted Bundy. So they were like trying to look into like profile serial killers, so they knew what to look for next. So like studying stuff, and they helped, and they found this guy, which I cannot remember his name. But they were able to prove that he killed 2 adults. They also went disappearing.
Yeah.
But he just closed the case on the children also, even though there was no proof that he actually like killed those children or kidnapped them or whatever. It's just, we got this guy that did this to these people in a similar way. Let's just close the case. So like there's still 20-something children, unfortunately. We never knew what happened to them.
No.
And if they were white children,
I bet it
would have been different.
So,
and again, this is the 70s. Fortunately, we've gone a bit better since then, but...
You say that,
if it was a black child disappearing, I honestly... If she wasn't British, if she wasn't white, if their parents weren't well off, I don't think there would have been this big case.
It was essentially middle class white child.
Yeah.
Goes missing abroad.
And for sure, after the Portuguese closed the case, Scotland Yard wouldn't pick it back up. a few years later. For sure.
If it was,
if it was still open, maybe, but like,
I guarantee if it was like
and we've
black families, like working class black families, son goes missing abroad. Okay, cool. Next page.
Yeah.
Middle class little white girl goes missing. Oh my god! It's the end of the fucking world.
Yeah.
This is where
very British family with doctors and.
Do you know what it is? I think it's as a society we're so used to having like, if you've got money, if you've got, you've got this perfect family, you've got these two well-educated people, you've got twins, you've got this really nice little girl who's just perfect. She's like the embodiment of innocent. Goes missing in a foreign country, blows your mind. It's just such a shame because we've invested all this money into one particular case, which could have easily been invested into many cases, because kids go missing every week, every day.
Again,
why is there no fucking? Why is there? There's so little.
The Netflix documentary is not great, but they do go into that. Why Madeleine? When nobody cared about any other children, and they talk about this very famous case in Portugal, which is the Rui Pedro case. He disappeared. I think it was late 90s, and he was 11, I think. But he disappeared, and nobody could find him again, which is very sad. But like, the police didn't do that much. They like asked one last guy that saw him, which was a very shady dude, and they like asked around for a little bit, and then like a week later, it was like they were done. Yeah, basically.
So it is such a shame because...
And, like, sometimes you can see on Facebook still goes around his case, like, this is what he looked like today, or whatever, and, like, in Facebook only, but, like, it's, like, it wasn't this media circus, like, 3 months later, there was still media everywhere around them, they were still giving
You're not saying that case... like investigated 10 years later, and you go to where it happened.
No, there's definitely not a documentary 10 years on about him.
It's like 10 years later they're investigating it, and then people are fed up with people investigating it. Yeah. What do you think about it? What do you think this case is such a... Why are we like 13 years later they're still fucking covering? What is it about this case? Tell me, why are we caring about this case?
I think it was because there was a huge media circus around it at the time. If they only talked about it for a week...
Yeah, but it's still happening 10 years later.
Because they're still making documentaries 10 years later.
Why?
And the Scotland Yard still is spending money on it, I think.
Why? Why are we doing this? Tell me.
Why are we doing this?
Give me your thoughts and feelings on why are we investigating a negligent family who's left it...
Because she was white. Because she was British.
Yeah,
because her parents were well off. That's it.
But that's not...
That's really the only reason.
But it's not... It's been happening 10 years before that. It's still happening 10 years after that. British people's... like... The same type of family has probably lost their kid abroad, or something happened abroad, but you get no coverage of it. Why does this fucking case make it so we...
I don't know.
I think...
I mean, to be fair, we were only talking about it because we like true crime.
Yeah.
Because, like, I haven't seen anything about Madeleine McCann in Portugal in years.
And that's quite interesting, because...
Like, we could, like, fuck up. I think the Portuguese kind of turned on them a little bit. Because they were making our police look extremely bad. And they're, like, blaming them. And again, the whole thing, why this child, when there's also Portuguese children missing, why is she getting so much more media? And nobody else cared about the other children, unfortunately.
Which is quite interesting, because I would imagine you could ask for anyone in Portugal. If you say the word Madeleine McCann, you'll probably get eyes rolled. Yeah. Whereas if you say Madeleine McCann here, it's a little bit different. It's we're still getting. I think it's only a couple of weeks ago, months ago, they had they ingested more money into the case.
Yeah.
And it was in the newspaper again on like page 4 or 5. Like,
I mean, that's how I got the case reopened by the Metropolitan Police in the Scotland Yard. Was that they gave the case to Theresa May. Theresa May. I was like so surprised when she showed up.
I feel so sorry for her. She tried.
She tried so hard. I mean, she seems like a lovely lady that got dealt a really bad hand.
She's like the little engine that could. She tried her best, but she just couldn't make it.
Yeah. So they gave like the case to Theresa May.
And then Bojo turns up, and he's a fucking legend. So we love him. We love Bojo.
No, he's terrible.
Did you see him the other day when he's like, it's like, when you wash your hands, make sure you sing Happy Birthday twice, and then
isn't it like only 20 seconds?
you have to sing the Happy Birthday song twice, and when you're washing your hands.
I thought it was only once.
No, twice.
I'm not singing it anyway.
And then he went to a science lab, and he begins to wash his hand, and he completely messes it up, and he's singing the song, and he messed the song up as well, and no one cares.
How mess up a Happy Birthday?
And he do you know how you're supposed to wet your hands, put the soap on it, wash it, go into the palm of your hands, and then wash it underneath? He just grabbed the fucking soap. Done. Right, next. I love him. He's so fucking... No. I love Bojo.
Anyway, they gave the case to like Theresa May or her department to review, to open it again.
Yep.
And they're like months without anything happening. So they go to the Sun and they like basically threaten the government. If you don't reopen the case, we'll keep like every front page will be us asking you to reopen the page. And like the government reopened, it's like, what's this? What if we didn't feel threatened at all?
I hate the fact that I really wish that it would have been like. And again, here's a message to the government to reinvestigate.
I don't believe the Sun did that for free or offered that for free. They had to pay the Sun to do that.
No. People would buy. People would just keep buying the papers for it. Because it sells. This story sells in the UK.
Still, I think people have gotten kind of tired of it.
As
they
a
go through with like every single front page will be Maddie.
As a person who I was 2007, so we would have been 2007. It'd be 10.
No, 9.
9 or 10.
9.
Yeah. No, we would have been 10. 97 to 2007. That's 10 years.
Well, not in May. We'll be 9 in May.
Yeah, but the media really didn't picking up until a couple of months later in the UK. So 9 or 10, maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah. So I grew up and I remember watching it on the news, and every newspaper, every shop window had pictures of her face.
The review of the case was in 2010, I think this was. Like, it was like 3 years later.
And it's still
and
sold.
They didn't pick it up.
I remember there was even like the local shop to me had tons more newspapers than normal.
Jesus. Jesus.
I think as in Britain we love a bit of the most popular like murder stories come from the UK, like Jack the Ripper, Jack the Stripper.
I only know Jack the Ripper. I don't know Jack the Stripper.
Do you not know? In Scotland, I think it was Scotland. There was a guy going around who was supposed to be really religious, and he would murder young women, and then he would rape them and then leave them, and he was called Jack the Stripper, because supposedly his name was Jack from someone from the Bible or something.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
So no, but yeah, in the UK we're really quite depressing people.
Yeah, the UK is very depressing.
So yeah, like, it sold. So I'd imagine that they probably didn't have to pay him anything.
I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so the government opens the case again,
Yep.
And Scotland Yard starts to investigate it.
Pumping more fucking taxpayers' money into.
Taxpayers, yeah.
Like, surely this is a Portugal problem.
So the British theory was that Madeleine McCann disappeared after a burglary had gone wrong.
Yep.
Which I think, like, if they think the parents did it, the theory is ridiculous. This one is even more ridiculous to me.
It's not.
To me it is. Because, like, one of the reasons to do is because there was crime. So there were a few burglaries around, which it's a tourist place filled with tourists in the middle of summer. And there's crime. I was like, what? No way. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop lying to me. It's like, that's not shocking. Like, okay. Like...
Yeah, and you're saying to me...
Yeah.
A burglar broke
into a place
to steal stuff.
And takes a child instead.
No, the theory is that the burglar gets spooked that the child's gonna scream, and so
he takes it.
He
takes her.
He kills her and then takes her body with her.
I mean, going from robbing tourists to killing a child seems a bit of a stretch. And again, there's no evidence of a break-in whatsoever, and nothing was stolen.
They showed how easy it was. They left the door open for one.
They left the door open.
They left the door open, so it could have. The burglar could have went in. The Maddie was woken, and he went, "Oh shit!
Oh shit! I killed the child. Let me take the child instead of stealing stuff and just leaving the kid."
Do you know what, I'm gonna give you my theory a little bit later on what I believe. I'm almost certain happened. But yeah,
I don't believe the burglary theory at all. Like, there's no evidence of it.
I'll tell you the reason. No, I'll tell you my theory later on. So yeah, you could have put yourself in the mind of a burglar, right?
Yes.
You break into a place.
Yes, and I steal nothing.
No, you get into a place by opening the door.
Yeah.
And you see loads of stuff. And then you see a young child there who could potentially incriminate you.
Yes, a 3-year-old child who does not speak English, who speaks Portuguese. And
so you get spooked.
Yeah.
You hit the child around the head, and you run off and put him in the boot of your car, of your rented car,
and do not steal anything.
Well, I mean, he probably realised that there was more kids in there and was like, "No, I'm not."
Which were asleep.
Yeah, but I think the burglar just got spooked the fact that he was caught, and so he just fled with the child. There's
no evidence there was a burglar though. Again, like.
Yeah, because the burglar literally had to do this.
So he got in, child, instead of leaving, instead of closing the door again, just leaving, he decided then to kill the child and not steal anything.
I've got my theory of what happened, but I'm going to tell you later.
Sure. Okay.
Because I think my theory actually is probably the most...
I don't believe the burglary theory at all.
No, and I agree with you. But I'll tell you why...
They could have opened the window. And the way they showed the opening one, it had to be open already.
No.
Yeah. Because the way he brings up the shutters, if they're all the way down, I know I have those back home. Not where I live, but I'm familiar with those.
Mm-hmm.
If they're closed all the way, pulling them up like that will not leave a huge gap. Then you can go through that and pull the cable indoors. Also, the window had to be open.
Yeah,
it couldn't be locked.
They demonstrated how they
demonstrated. It was already open, like the gap was already this big when he pulled it up. And the window had to be open.
And so you're saying to me, a family who's already left the fucking door open are going to be like...
And there's no evidence whatsoever of it.
No, you're saying to me, a family who's already willing to leave a door open with their kids, are going to go, actually, make sure the window's shut. Then I'm like, whatever, it's fine.
I mean, it would make sense because the kids are sleeping, and it does get cold at night, so closing the window would make sense.
Yeah, so they probably as a British person abroad, all you're gonna do is go right.
If
It's
those
gonna get a bit
shutters
cold.
are all the way down.
They probably did this. I'm going to demonstrate. You grab it, fling it down, shut it. Cool, out you go.
You don't fling it down like that. You have to pull the thing.
Yeah.
You have to pull the cable. And if it's all the way down, there's no way you can manually from outside open it. Without breaking them. For sure. I guarantee it.
Ignorant person abroad pulls it down a bit, slides across, leaves.
You don't pull it down. You have to. See, you've never seen one of those, have you?
Exactly. I don't know how to use it, so...
Yeah, it's so hard.
Exactly. And you're telling me a person who's gone abroad, who's just ready to go out for a night out, is going to take extra time to make sure it's shut properly.
Yes, they should.
Yes, they should.
Anyway,
and they should also leave a fucking door locked.
There's no evidence. They found no DNA. Like, the guy that they interviewed, that could be one of the possible burglars.
Yep.
He did not look smart enough to wear gloves. Just saying. There was no DNA, no fingerprints, no sign of break-in whatsoever, even if the fucking window was open.
Even if that's the case, guy walks in...
And again, I don't see
through the open door.
Through the open door, I don't see how that, like, a guy stealing fucking, I don't know, wallets and laptop or whatever. Just like, goes from there, like, gets spooked so much that they kill a child.
I tell you, I'm going to tell you later on what I would bet money on happened. I know for a fact, almost, that it probably happened, but I'll continue.
I don't. It makes sense.
I'm going to tell you my theory, and you're going to probably say, yeah, this probably is the case. We'll get onto it later.
Maybe. Also, another piece of evidence that could happen. It's because they called each other.
Yeah.
At night.
Okay.
And that's a piece of evidence that they called each other at night. Like, seriously?
Yeah, it's like...
That's suspicious.
Do you remember? This is 2007. You're paying for that minutes. Don't you worry. You ain't calling them if you don't need them.
That's the evidence. They called a guy. I mean,
the Portuguese and the British version, both are
ridiculous.
They're both Titanics. They're cruising along, and then you literally just find a fucking hole and it sinks. Easy as that.
Then the British police, comes to Portugal and starts sweeping grass like the kid was left there that day. Like, they would find something. Some tall grass by the road.
I know what's happened. They've had a meeting. They go, what we should do, right? We should get the taxpayers to take us to Portugal during summer.
It's such a joke. Like, the Portuguese detective they're speaking with, he says, like, it's such a joke. They're, like, looking in sewers, like, they could...
Probably washed out to sea by now.
I mean, it's not going to be in the sewer if it was left there 4 years ago. I mean, what are you doing?
Look across the road, right? Yes, I see. That's a British person. They just leave the stuff open. It's fine.
I mean, what?
The window.
Yeah, it's like a third floor, not the ground floor. It's the second floor.
They go on holiday. They'll just leave shutters open just because they're idiots.
It's weird. I mean...
Okay, so... You know for a fact the British detectives probably go, oh, we can get people to pay for us to go to Portugal for a few weeks during the summer. Oh, this sounds really good. Yeah, we're investigating new leads. Yeah. Whilst they sat there in their hotel room with a cocktail, probably going, what we should do, right? We should have a meeting tomorrow by the pool.
Let's go look by the road. See if there's a child there.
Yeah, and what we do on the way, because it's quite warm, is we'll grab a quick drink, we'll get some ice cream, and if we can have a investigation.
I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
I mean, these are probably the same people like the politicians who claim like a pigeon bird bath is a part of expenditure.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear an article?
I have not.
A couple of years ago, there was some politicians one politician who claimed a bird bath in her garden, and she claimed it on UK expenses for a couple of £1,000.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
So having them investigate something that they know they can't prove in a place during the summer, I don't put it past them. I mean, if you could turn around and say, let's go on holiday and let's get the British people to pay for it. Of course you would. Everyone would.
Of course, they found nothing because
There was nothing
Why
to
would
find.
they?
And I'll
Why
explain.
would they?
And I'll explain why later in my theory.
And I mean, it's just so stupid. And they closed the case against the three guys because again, there's no fucking evidence. They managed to interview.
They interviewed one
One
guy
of them.
who sounded like he wanted to cry.
He was about to cry at any second.
He's like, "Why don't they leave me alone, please?"
I didn't know. I don't know anything. I didn't know anything. He's like the saddest person of all fucking time. Are you telling me that person killed the child?
And then they interviewed the other guy he was in a boat. And then
He introduced the last suspect.
And then do you know
Which
the funny?
again, it's Vitor Santos. It's not Santos. It's not Santos.
It's Santos.
Not Santos.
Or
Or Lagos.
Lagos.
Because see, if you need a Portuguese person to tell you how to pronounce stuff, I'm available.
Do you want a Portuguese translator?
Yeah, I'm available. It's not Santos. It's Sant.
So you know what I think is though.
But you know, I lost the job because of it. No, it's like he was the head of the department in the hotel.
And then he lost
now
his job.
he works on the boat. Nothing wrong with working on boats.
Do you know what I find quite interesting? This is kind of how, as a reporter, you get around not telling people what you're doing. He's like, "Oh, we're just investigating things that happened in that year." When he was like asking him questions, he didn't instantly turn around and say, "By the way, we're doing a documentary of Madeleine McCann." It's like, "Oh, we're just doing an investigation of what happened around about that time. So what did you do at that time?" And he's like, "I know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm not dumb." It's like, I didn't have anything to do with it, pretty
And
much.
his English was not the best, so...
To be fair, his English wasn't bad, though.
It wasn't bad, but he wasn't the greatest, so he probably could have said something incriminatory without meaning to.
So, by the end of this documentary, we end up just...
We
get nothing.
Two stupid theories that I feel would make no sense, with no evidence to them. And the guy on the boat.
Yep.
That's the end.
So...
and interview Robert Mora for like 5 seconds, because he was a suspect for 5 seconds.
Pretty much. So, the top theories, and I'll go with my theory.
Yeah.
Top theory, this is based on, like, when I started Googling what people believe.
A lot of people believe the parents did.
So, theory number one is that the parents killed them. Essentially, they covered up their negligence.
Yeah.
One of the theories is that she tried to escape from the window. She fell down, hurt herself, and then to cover their tracks from being negligent. Yeah,
which they were negligent. Even if they had nothing to do with her disappearance, they were negligent.
So the detective on the case surmised that McCann family rented the apartment, which is where they directly or indirectly killed their daughter and covered up either the murder by negligence. They had to cover up to keep faith and also to keep their professional job. Yeah. So, because essentially, if you go out and kill someone, you're not going to come back as a doctor. Let's be real.
Yes.
This theory was supported by sniffer dogs barking at scent of blood in the department and in the car, which McCann's family hired weeks later. That's. I think most people, if you ask the British public,
that's what they remember. The dogs finding
the dogs.
Nobody remembers that the blood had nothing to do. Like, it had no DNA of Madeleine, but like that's what people remember. So again, there's no evidence against the parents. The
second theory, the second most popular theory, is burglary gone wrong, which we've discussed.
Which I don't.
I'm going to agree with you. I don't think it's happened.
There's no evidence for it whatsoever.
The next one is an accident. The most logical explanation, because the door's already open.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're 3, you're not really going to know how to what. Those slidey doors are really fucking complicated even for an adult to use.
Are they?
Some of them, like, you have to flick it up, you have to unlock it, then you have to slide it. You imagine a 3-year-old doing that?
I mean, no, but also, normally you shoot some lock, you just slide it.
No, and this is what I'm getting to. So, if it was locked, for a 3-year-old to unlock it,
yeah,
it's not going to happen. So because the doors were already unlocked, most logical explanation, Maddie had woken up, got worried by lack of parents being there, because there was a time frame when she wasn't there. And she went out, she slid the doors open, or the doors might have been already slid open. We don't know whatever happened. And she came out, and then simply just walked, trying to find them, and either fell down, hurt herself, or something happened. One of the biggest, one of the most obvious things was, and that she went down the hill. There was a big roadworks pit that was going on at the time. Yeah. And they said because there was no lights around it, she walked down there in the search of her parents, fell down, and the next day that place was covered. Because
I don't remember.
No, because no one ever says this. This is one of the most logical explanations. Is she fell down? This hill was not small. Yeah. They were doing roadworks there, so they surmised that she fell down, went unconscious, or died instantly. The road workers, if you had fallen anywhere, you're gonna get covered in a bit of rubble. So they literally just piled it. They were just doing normal roadworks. They covered her up, and then that was it. That's why they can't find her, because she's fucking buried.
Okay, as a Portuguese person, I'm going to put a hole in that theory. As a Portuguese person, I know that roadworks take several 100 years to get completed.
I've seen your hometown. That does mean true.
So if the roadwork it would probably take years before it was complete. They would definitely not finish it the next day. That doesn't sound like Portuguese workers at all.
But then
we're great, but in terms of roadworks, we're terrible. Just terrible.
But but it could have happened that she fell down, went unconscious, or died, and because it was on the top of a hill, she just had to be covered, even remotely, because they didn't go searching a lot for weeks. And so when the workers did turn up, they weren't really paying too much attention by digging through loads of rubble and loads of dirt for a missing child who supposedly at the time was abducted or murdered.
I don't know.
So that I think for me, I think that's probably one of the most logical explanations.
I don't know how plausible that actually is.
But that's not my actual theory.
Okay, what's your theory?
Not even my theory, but one of the ones that is the most logical explanation. So where it was, there was a marina very close by. There was where essentially you can get in and out of where they were really easily.
It's Portugal. That's everywhere. I'm sorry.
And the Spanish border wasn't too far away.
No, but again, it's Portugal. The Spanish border is never too far away.
Exactly.
So literally in like 2 hours you can be in the Spanish border anywhere in the country. So
what they believe, and what I'm probably, this is the theory that I believe in. Essentially, Madeleine McCann could have been victim of a paedophile or a sex trafficking or a child trafficking gang.
Yeah.
Who essentially saw the mother leave, didn't lock the door.
Yeah.
Simply took the child out, slid the doors back open. Sorry, slid the doors back, and then left in under and they said in less than 2 hours, you could have been in Morocco.
Yeah.
And they didn't. By the time that the family came back, they could have been on a fucking boat. So
I mean, unfortunately, that's probably what happened.
The most likely position is either a paedophile or a local child trafficker. Not even a child trafficker spotted an opportunity.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, a little girl, an innocent little girl, been left alone in a place she doesn't know, and she doesn't know the language, and the parents have left the door unlocked, so it literally ticks every box. Or them to take her, and simply goes in, grabs her, and there was a report that said that they saw a man walk away with a child over their shoulder. I'm not 100% certain on that, but it could be possible.
So I think it's on Netflix one. They do a drawing of it and everything. It's later found out it was another parent picking up their child from the night care thing at the resort. That's what I think it was one of the group. Yeah. Saw that's what that guy was. But
if you think about this, that could have happened that way.
Could have happened, yeah.
Or more than likely is that they you literally could, by the looks of that road, pull a car there, be in and out in under 30 seconds.
Yeah.
On a boat in under half an hour, and in Morocco in under 2. And then you would never ever see her again.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Which is why the McCann should be done for negligence.
They should have been.
If they pulled the key out, if all they did was lock the window, pull the key out and lock the door, that child had never gone missing.
Yeah.
Because they would have had to smash through the window.
Or I don't know if they stayed at the apartment or they took their children to you. Or if you want to have a holiday without children, leave them at home with the family, like grandparents.
So what probably happened was the child was taken by a group of either child prostitution people, a gang, child traffickers, slavery workers. Took her away, and now they either got spooked because of the amount of media, and either killed her, and if you're on a boat, in the sea, or they end up changing her identity so much where she could have escaped, and she doesn't, because she was only 3. She literally not even. I know it sounds crazy, but she literally could be a person you walk past in the street, and you won't even know. What did you do when you were 3?
I don't remember.
Exactly. So she's either dead, or she's living a life where you don't even know. I think that is going to be the explanation that has the most credibility.
Yeah.
And at the time, there was not many, if any, CCTV at the time.
There still isn't in Portugal.
No. In the UK, every street you go down to, everyone has a Ring fucking doorbell that you're getting tracked wherever you go, which is great. I don't mind at all. So if we're honest, I think we both agree on what probably happened. More than likely.
Yeah, I don't think her parents killed her. There's no evidence for it.
I think they're negligent. That's what we both agree on.
They were definitely negligent. They should have been charged with negligence.
So have we actually come to an agreement?
Did we solve it? Did we solve the Madeleine McCann case?
No, I don't think we solved. I think we did solve it, but have we actually, for one podcast, both agreed unanimously of what happened? Parents were negligent. She was taken.
Probably.
Wow. I'm surprised.
I know, right?
This is quite cool. No, it's not quite cool because child trafficking is fucking terrible.
A child is missing. It's not cool.
It's not cool. But the fact that Rita agrees with me is and I agree with Rita is a shock on its own. And on that note, if I know probably about 6 people listen to this, but if you've
Mom.
Hi, Rita's mum. If you've got any information or if you've seen her at all, just Google or message us or something, because I think the least we can do, even if it only takes one person to recognise her.
Well, yeah, I guess. So nobody knows what she looks like anymore.
There's been, if you Google Madeleine McCann, what she looks like now, you can get an idea of kind of what she might look like. So even if you think, that person that I know might not be, I'm not too sure.
Contact the police, please.
Honestly, even if you're uncertain, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they'll look into it, and if it is amazing, if not, So what?
People will keep looking because there's tons of money on this case, in this case only.
Essentially, there's no reason for you not to keep an eye out for her because you're going to get a shit ton of money and you'll save the British taxpayer loads of money because we don't have to keep funding this shit.
Exactly.
And we can put it to more other cases.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, exactly. So we've come to a conclusion, and this has not been a very nice podcast, but
not a fun one.
What we're doing next week?
Next week we're doing Cowspiracy, and that's Netflix original about the impact that farming has on the environment. Eating meat is bad. I do it. I will continue to do it. Probably never stop. But it's bad for the environment. Cows are bad.
Yeah, but
that's basically. I haven't seen this.
Who the fuck cares about the environment?
How dare you?
Everyone goes out pretending that they care. But the moment I say to them, okay, stop eating meat and then drive an electric car, they go, fuck off.
Well, there's vegans exist.
Yeah.
And vegetarians.
There was vegans and vegetarians before this global warming crisis happened.
I mean, sure, but it wasn't like popular.
Right.
If you're a vegetarian, it had more to do with where you lived and your culture than being a choice.
But then okay.
And then vegans came out and started screaming.
If I said
on
to you,
people's...
Rita, just to give her like a thing ready for next week. If I said to you, Rita,
yes,
you're never allowed to eat meat again because you're killing the environment, and you must.
I won't do it.
And you must go out, and if you buy a car, it has to be electric.
Yes, that's true.
You have to. You're not allowed to use anything plastic anymore.
Tomorrow's going to be shit. Not tomorrow. Next week's going to be shit, isn't it?
You can't use. You're not allowed to. Buy anything plastic anymore because that's bad for the environment. Your batteries there you can't use anymore because that's bad for the environment.
It's also true.
Could you survive?
I mean, could I survive?
Yes.
Probably. Would I want to live? No.
So, is this whole global warming thing ever going to change?
I hope so.
Realistically,
we should keep trying.
Do you know,
we shouldn't give up because it's hard.
I'm going to give you one piece of. I'm going to give you one fact.
We're never going to agree on this, Mitch.
No, I'm going to give you one fact, and this is kind of more towards yours type of thing. Do you know one of the biggest polluters?
Cows?
Apart from meat, the internet. The internet is one of the worst polluters in the entire world.
I mean, I believe it. Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why? Cables?
Nope.
Server space.
Space servers. So talking about servers, why servers?
I don't know. I don't understand how servers work most of the time.
The reason why is because you have to have. There's hundreds of thousands of servers running every minute of every day, burning up electricity. And have you ever been into a server room?
No, I have not.
So, do you know, like, have you ever seen, have you ever
I've seen movies with server rooms.
They're very loud, aren't they?
Yes.
Because you've got massive fans and air conditioning and everything running at all times. Yeah. And so all of this, basically, this podcast
it's
harmful
to the environment.
And on that note, we're all fucking the environment up anyway, so who gives a shit? Goodbye.
Goodbye.